Thank you, everyone, for joining Eluna's community conversation today, and specifically for joining our first ever Teen Talk. Thank you for being here with us. My name is Sarah Beam Guillen, and I am the director of Eluna's Resource Center. Eluna is beyond proud to host today's conversation to elevate the voices of our 4 Camp Erin alumni. This is our first ever Teen Talk, and we really appreciate your support of our brave panelists today. We are also grateful for our supporters, Aetna and Independence Blue Cross. We couldn't do this without you. Thank you. So now I'd like to go ahead and introduce our moderator, Jiggy Yoon. Hello, Jiggy.
Hello.
Thanks so much for being here today. So just a little bio about Jiggy, who's just amazing. Jiggy is a sought-after speaker who shares her story, her knowledge, and all the lessons she has learned throughout her journey of overcoming personal adversity, including the lived experience of being a queer Asian immigrant, type 1 diabetic woman who's lost her home to a fire at age 17, and a grieving daughter after the passing of both of her parents 9 years apart. Bringing knowledge of self-care practices, socio-emotional skills, self-awareness, and emotional health and well-being, career preparation, and more, Jiggy's presentations create lasting impact on the lives of students and professionals around the world. So with that, Jiggy, I'm going to pass it off to you, and we are going to welcome in our esteemed panelists who are all Camp Erin alumni. Thank you so much, Jiggy. I'll pass it off to you.
Woo! Thank you so much, Sarah. Thank you so much for having me, everybody. Just like Sarah said, my name is Jiggy. She, her pronouns, calling in from Los Angeles. I don't claim LA, though. I was born in Korea and raised in Queens, so stand up, Queens. A little bit about me. I am a youth mental health motivational speaker, and so the youth is just my jam, especially high school and college students, so this team panel is perfect. And I am also the founder of an organization called Agents Grieving. I call it a really cool grief social club, not a grief support group, because we're really cool and we do really fun things. And I love to prioritize joy and fun in grief and normalize the conversations of grief. And so, with that said, it is my honor to present to you our 4 incredible, courageous, brave, awesome, the most amazing panelists. I will give them the floor to start introducing themselves. And let's start off with Julia.
Hi, I'm Julia. I'm from South Dakota, and I'm 17 years old. I lost my dad 5 years ago. I was about 12 years old. I wanted to join this Teen Talk so others could hear about what it's like to be a teen through grief, going through grief, and I just wanted everyone else to know what it's like.
Awesome. Thank you, Julia. Who'd like to go next?
I can go next. Hi, my name is Arabelle Gamel. I am a 19-year-old at Maryland, and I'm currently attending the University of Maryland. And I lost my mom and my brothers when I was 7 years old, so it's been about 12 years at this point. And I wanted to join this Teen Talk because I feel like I've gone through a lot of different stages in my life, and now that I'm like 19, I'm in college. I feel like I have an interesting perspective on people who have lost someone when they were younger, but then now are going through these new life milestones, and sometimes it feels like I've been going through my grief journey. So I wanted to be able to show people that they aren't alone, even if it feels like sometimes grief keeps coming back, which is okay.
Yes, absolutely. Who would like to go next?
I'm Greg. I'm 16. I'm from Aurora, Colorado. I lost my brother in late 2022 to a brain tumor, and I'm here right now at this panel to teach how I cope and maybe certain ways that people can cope as well with their grief.
Thank you, Greg. And Zeke?
Hi, I'm Zeke. I am a 17-year-old from a small town here in Texas. I lost my dad several years ago, and I'm here to basically tell y'all that you are not alone.
Amazing. Thank you all so much. I mean, I'm already learning so much already because when I was their age, my mother passed away when I was 20 years old and my dad passed away when I was 29. But even then, I was not ready to talk about grief or holding space for anybody else because the stigma back then, if you're an older person watching this right now, the stigma back then was to keep it to yourself, that vulnerability is weakness. But I really believe in the generation of the future that we have right here today because if this is our future, I know that we're in good hands because let me tell y'all, I met them already and they're just so emotionally intelligent and I can't wait to dive in with y'all. All right, so let's start off with the first question. Let's talk about the foundation. Let's set the foundation and just what grief looks like for you, and not grief in terms of what it's like in the movies or what people might assume it is, just crying all day at a funeral. But what does the grief look like for you on a day to day basis, even a Tuesday afternoon at school? Anybody can go first.
Well, for me, it hits random times. So it's like you can be in school doing a test and suddenly you're thinking like, oh, I miss my person that I lost. And it's just like really sudden and it's just random. And you just kind of have to go on with your day and you just have to still give yourself time to feel that grief, but it might not be in the moment when you feel that grief. You have to do what you need to do. You have responsibilities, but after you do your responsibilities, you go and do feel your grief.
Absolutely. I think it's really important to sit with the grief to process your emotions. And also, what's so important about what she said is to create space for it later. Don't neglect and isolate your emotions and your experiences. Arabelle, since Julia talked about tests and you're at finals week right now, thank you for showing up in the midst of your final stress. What about you?
I feel like for me, grief is, I want to echo what Julia was saying about how, it does hit you at random times, but then it's important to make space. There are definitely times, especially like the last like week or two leading up to finals, there are times where I've definitely been like really stressed and just thinking about like, sometimes I'll like be reminded of my mom, my brothers, and I have to remember that like, yes, I need to like make sure that I am at a place where I can like recognize that these feelings, even if it's not always like right in the middle of a test. But I also feel like grief is also just remembering the people that you loved, even though they might not be here with you. It's important to still like think about them and think about the happy moments. So while grief can be a little bit sad at times, there's also time to like make some joy out of it.
Yes, it can definitely be both joy and longing. Zeke or Greg? You don't have to raise your hand. You can just go.
Okay, so yeah, I have to agree with what Julia said, that it is random. But grief, it's like also grief's this thing. It's like sometimes it's easy. It's like I miss him, and then other times it's worse. It's like, what are you even doing anymore? Like, because you like miss him so bad. But really, the thing about grief is that you got to get out of your bed every morning and keep living every day, because that's what your loved one would want you to do.
Yes, there's that aspect of self-respect and also self-compassion. You just got to keep through the day. Sometimes you just got to power through, but at times you are also able to sit still and reflect and remember them. Beautiful. Zeke?
So grief is not like a bad thing. Most people assume that it is. And when you get those emotions and stuff that pop up, kind of feel what's going on and then make time, kind of what Arabelle was saying, find a time that works, whether or not it's right then and there.
Right. I told these teens, the theme that we're hearing here is that, yes, process your grief and process your emotions. And also, you gotta sometimes just get through your day and gotta do what you gotta do. And when we were doing rehearsals, I was telling them that when I was in college, there was a pop quiz. And this was after my mom passed away. And when there was this pop quiz, I got up and left. I left the classroom. And when I got back to my dorm room, I just emailed my professor to apologize. But because at the time, I didn't make any space for grief and my emotions, I didn't even know how to process it. That's what it manifested as. And Greg, thank you so much for your grace today and not making fun of me today, because when we were at rehearsal, you were laughing at me. But I want to talk also about, we talk about day to day and maybe even school. how does holidays feel for you guys? Like holidays, anniversaries, birthdays, anticipatory grief is a real thing also. So how might you spend those kinds of days with your loved ones or maybe even alone?
Well, for me, Mother's Day was 2 days ago. And so after losing my mom, Mother's Day can be really rough. I'll be a little bit vulnerable. I was doing really great up until like probably like 9 p.m. on Mother's Day. And I just like, all my feelings kind of just hit me. And I just got to realize that like you were saying, anticipatory grief is a real thing, but it's really helpful just to remember that like my loved ones are always around me. Like I went back to my dorm room, I talked to my roommate a little bit, tried to like decompress, thought like made sure I like send out all like my happy Mother's Day texts to like my family who've like been there and supported me, and just it can be a lot, but I also just have to remember, like we were all saying that, your loved ones would want you to keep going. But I also I try to think about the joy. Like I try and remember fun things that my mom and I would do when I was younger, or just like little fun memories about my two brothers, just to kind of like make the holidays a little bit more bearable.
It sounds like memories play a really big part for you in
Hmm.
your grief. Thank you
Yeah,
so
it
much
helps
for
me
sharing.
keep them alive. So.
That's right. Thank you so much for sharing.
For me, we go to my dad's grave on his birthday mainly or on special occasions, and we like to just sit there with me and my siblings and remember what we had, and that we still get to have them around. It's just not physical. So you
Mhm.
just get to sit there and you talk about those memories, you just sit with your family and you just enjoy the time.
Do you bring like balloons to celebrate with your dad?
We bring him flowers.
Okay. Not
Or we made stepping stones at Camp Erin, and we brought those and put them on his grave.
That's beautiful. There's already an idea of activities that you can do at Camp Erin and apply to your daily lives. Anyone else?
So for us on his birthday, I've always gone to Chili's and gotten like a molten lava cake, and we always celebrate like that.
Yeah, and is the molten cake or was it their favorite?
That I don't actually know.
So we're just doing it to celebrate him, but we don't know. Let's just pretend that it was his favorite because molten cakes are amazing.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. What about you, Greg?
So I say like when the holidays comes around, I really just not feel like into the groove as much because like he's not my brother's not really there, so I really just in order to like just like cope with it like on those holidays, I really just do what we used to do together a lot, which was just play video games.
Do you feel connected to him more when you do some activities that you
Yeah,
used to
we
do together?
yeah, we did together. Yes, I do.
Mm, I'm sure he's playing with you and maybe he's like making some activities happen on the video games that you're like, what was that? And maybe it was your brother.
Yeah,
Um,
that'd be true.
Something that we also you all slightly mentioned, and let's bring it to the forefront is the community around you and the support that you have, whether it looks like your church community or your own family, or Arabelle, you talked about your roommates. What does that look like for you? Because it's a vulnerable experience to share your grieving process with anybody at all, actually, even if it's a therapist. But how do they set the tone that you feel the openness to be able to share with them?
So, my best friend Bella, she was probably my biggest supporter. She didn't understand, but she was able to open the conversation, and she wasn't pushing for questions, she wasn't pushing for it, but she had that space where I could talk about it, even if she didn't really know what was going on. She was definitely just always there. And then my church community, we went to church this day after my dad died, and my mom always talks about it, but we had a very important message about you pray and you listen and then you move on. And that was just a big impact in my life, my church. and Bella and my family.
And shout outs to Bella. I think Bella is here with us today. So shout outs to Bella. Julia was super excited to talk about you, Bella, and we appreciate your compassion. So it sounds like even if someone might not know anything about grief, and they might even not know how to hold space, but that curiosity actually can help you open up and feel more connected to them and feel even maybe safer to share. Anybody else?
I think for me, my family was really helpful in trying to, just get through the whole grieving process. We were all there for each other. Me and my dad became super close through the whole experience, just like with everything. And then I know that my aunt helped him through like a lot of things, which also like helped our relationship a lot. And so having those two people behind me especially was really important for me. And they were truly my rock star at the situation. But then also similar to what Julia was saying, just the support of other people. I was young when it happened, but I know my school tried to talk to my classmates a little bit about it so they could at least understand. And just sometimes what they would say, sometimes it was helpful, as a second grader. Sometimes other things the second graders did weren't always necessarily helpful, but I can't get too upset about it. But just knowing that my community was there for me was really nice. And just knowing that even during days where I felt so alone just with everything, I knew that I was never actually truly alone and that there was always someone there to support me.
Yeah, so even through a loss, there is also an opportunity for growth and closeness. You've grown even closer to your dad, who is also grieving the loss alongside you. And especially you're in college, and those of you who are watching who are about to enter college, Arabelle, you talked about your roommate, but also your sorority sisters. And so there's just community all around you, and that's so beautiful.
Yes.
Anyone want to go next?
So down here, there's a place that we go to called GriefWorks, and they had a big support group that was good for my whole family.
Even though because people might know there are resources that are available and perhaps even accessible, but some folks are still shy or they are scared to go to a grief support space. So what was it about yours that made you say, I want to give this a shot. I want to give this a try?
So they break it down by age. So let's take high schoolers together, middle school, elementary, adults, and they'll create a safe space for the age groups. That way everybody's not together and it's not awkward for everybody.
Okay. And I remember in the rehearsal, you mentioned also your church community who was able to show up for you right away after the
Correct.
passing. Would you mind sharing a little bit about how they showed up for you and how that landed for you?
So within the day after we found out that our dad died, or later that week, or however the timeline played out, they had food ready to go every day those next couple days for us.
It's really amazing how I don't know if all of us can relate, but I certainly can when it comes to food, access to food when we're grieving, because you have no bandwidth to want to cook, or maybe even the appetite is low, but we gotta eat somehow. And so food deliveries or having somebody make food for us, it just goes such a long way. So Zeke, I'm so glad that you had your community who were just there to provide you with the basic needs. Greg, did you have anything to share?
To be honest with me, my when my brother died, we'd had really a lot of friends, family, just people my parents knew. They just came together. They really helped us out. They gave us flowers, gift cards for food, just food they made. It was really them showing their support. They weren't sharing that they understood our pain, but they were saying that they were there for us. And they were there to support us.
I love that you highlighted that, because y'all, isn't it annoying when somebody's like, I know exactly what you're going through, when they don't know exactly what you're going through? And they might mean well, but there are just some things that some people say at certain times where it's just I need to leave the room. So even though they mean well, I think this also goes for those who are holding space, that let's leave with more so curiosity than assumption. And
Yes.
definitely don't say, I understand exactly what you're going through. That's a forewarning right there.
We all grieve differently.
We all grieve differently. Thank you, Gray. And so, um, in the spirit of talking about what doesn't help, um, what is the hardest part of grief as a teen? Because a lot of grief support spaces out there right now may feel like it was for adults by adults, but what is the hardest part about grief for a teen? And is there anything out there that you wish existed for teens?
Not enough people truly understand what's going on when they say that they do. And that at times can get frustrating where it's like, oh, I know what you're going through. And it's like, you don't. So you can't be saying that.
Mm-hmm. Do you think that is especially annoying when an adult tells you that?
I would say so, yes.
Okay, I just wanted to highlight that for any adult viewers joining
It's
us
probably
today.
more so annoying with an adult over a kid.
You hear that, adults? Don't do it. Thank you, Zeke. Anyone want to go next?
I think I feel like one thing that is difficult, like with teens grieving, is that we're not quite adults. But I think also like there's like we're in that like obviously we're between like adults and kids, but then it's like we need like I think there needs to be like a lot of like different like specific support that we don't always get, because it's like, well, sometimes you'll almost like dumb it down and be like, well, they're just kids, and it's like, well, actually no, like teens are still like complex beings who are going through a lot of things. I think also on that note, like teens go through a lot in the 6 years that they're teenagers, and there's like a lot that happens in that 6 years, and I think people just don't always necessarily know how to like help people as they're like going through these growing phases, versus like kids who are still growing a lot, and then adults who are like, you know, they reach their maturity eventually, but there's just so much happening in teens brain. And then on top of grief, I just feel like it's a lot that like people don't again understand, and it's just difficult. And I feel like a lot of times people are either trying to overcompensate and do everything, or they're trying to like undercompensate and just like pretend like the grief doesn't exist, and there just needs to be like a happy medium.
You bring up a really good point, Arabelle, and especially since you're in college now, could I ask you this question? The transition between being a high school student into going into college, and there's this notion that once a teen goes off to college, it's basically, you know, you got your freedom, you got your independence, you might be alone even though you're still close with your dad, you live in a dorm now, you're surrounded by people. And so has that been perhaps a little bit of pressure, do you think, on taking on grief alone, or does it help that you've created your community on your own when you went to college?
I think it's hard. You know, there are definitely times where it's like, I shouldn't say I feel alone, because I know there's always people to reach out, but there's definitely the thing where I just like sometimes I feel like I don't think people fully understand that, like, yeah, my brothers may have passed away 12 years ago, but I am going through like a really new big stage of my life that I haven't really gone through like ever, you know, and so it's a little bit hard like for people to grasp that. But I still like I try to make up for it, you know. I'll like still like talk to my dad and still be like a little vulnerable with him, like around like the, you know, the holidays, or around like, you know, the anniversary of my brother's birthdays. But yeah, there is definitely a bit of a pressure. It's like, oh well, you're an adult, you have it all figured out. It's like, oh, I don't. But yeah.
Absolutely. And you know what? Let me tell you right now, even adults don't have it figured out. It's a lie. It's all a lie. Adults don't have it figured out either. We're still figuring it out to this day, no matter what age we are. Anyone else?
I wish people realize that what they say actually does hit hard sometimes, like the way they say things. I wish like there were just ways people could understand that the way you say it actually matters. Like, it's just confusing sometimes, because some people will be like, oh, your dad died. How's that? It's not like how he died. It's more like what they did while they were living. It's just not that they died. It's that they were in my life.
Right. So more compassion, more consideration, and also more respect to your
Yes.
journey. Thank you for sharing that. And anyone else?
Well, I'm the only one left, so.
Mm-hmm.
But honestly, I agree with like the I know your pain stuff. I didn't really go through that, or like I know what you're dealing with. I didn't really go through that stuff. But I have to say the hardest thing about being a teen and then going through grief is that you're just starting out as a teenager, and then you get like the mood swings and stuff, and then sometimes that affects your grief because like you don't know like what each day is going to hold for you. If you're going to like one day you're going to miss them, and then the other day you're like going to feel like I miss them, but we got to keep moving on, something like that.
Yeah, and that brings me to the next question about, has any one of you have to play this role in your families or in your communities where you had to remain the strong one? And how did you navigate that at such a young age?
Well, when my dad died, my mom was struggling really hard because she just lost her husband, and it was huge. And my little sister and I were becoming really close, so I kind of became her parent. Well, not really her parent, but her mom, that like mom figure, because I was the one who was there for her. But so was my mom, but like it's like I was the one who cuddled her and talked to her because we shared a room, and like we were able to just go to each other. And it's hard to navigate that because you are also grieving. So having to be the strong one is hard because you also want to grieve. So having that relationship where you both can grieve on each other is a really big thing.
Mm. How do you think you perhaps prioritize self-care as somebody who is grieving and also being a strong one for somebody else?
Again, Bella was always there, so I was able to lean on her because she had other people to lean on, so she was able to be the strong one for me. And then she also was very good at reminding me that I didn't have to be strong and reminding me that I am still grieving.
Hmm. Shout outs to Bella. You out here, Bella. But two important things that you said that I really love is that one, Bella also had her own support system. So it's not that Julia was holding it all to herself. She had a friend, a consistent person who was showing up consistently. Bella, who always also had her own support system, and Bella herself was not just keeping it to herself. And I forget what the second one was gonna be, but yeah, that just flew past me. But I'm really glad that you had a community uh, with Bella with consistency, that you are all to be reminded of self-compassion, that you are still grieving. As even though we may all hear everybody here, we all love talking about mental health. We all advocate for spaces for grief, and we all say, take care of yourself. You're allowed to grieve. We also need those reminders. And that's true for me too. No matter how much I'm a motivational speaker and I go around talking about how people need to take care of themselves, I need that reminder too. So thank you for reminding us of that, Julia. Anyone else?
I wasn't necessarily I didn't necessarily like take in like a strong role, like like I didn't necessarily need to like a step up to any role, but there was definitely like that like mutual understanding that like me and my dad wanted to be there to support each other, because while everyone in my life was grieving the loss of my mom and my brothers, at the end of the day, like me and my dad were obviously like just kind of like in our own like separate bubble. That was like his wife and his kids, that was my mom and my brothers. So just like like me leaning on him was like really helpful. And I'm sure that there was some like like, oh, I see my wife in Arabelle, and I see like my sons in Arabelle, and kind of like that like unspoken support system.
That's so beautiful. Thank you for sharing that, Arabelle. Anyone else? All right.
I can go.
Mhm.
Sorry. So I feel I didn't really have to like be like the strong one in my family since we were all like just like going through it all, but we all just like stood together really during that time. It's
Yes.
kind of
Go ahead.
sorry.
Go ahead.
It was just kind of just us like just staying together as like a like I don't know as like one like giant ball or like puzzle. Like we were just sticking together, just trying to figure out how we could navigate through it for a while.
Mm. Who would you say, like in your family, was perhaps the lead of the grief in the family?
Probably mom or dad. My mom or dad. It was them really.
Yeah. And was there ever a moment where you felt like you could do more for
Um,
your parents or anybody else?
yeah, I mean, I tried to help the best I could. I guess that's all I got to really say. But we just stuck together. That's all we did.
Yeah. Because I bring that up because for any of the younger siblings who are watching this, because the eldest siblings usually take on the responsibilities as well, but there is this notion from the younger siblings who have that desire and longing to show up more, be able to do more, and there is also this almost like distance connection where because we're younger and naturally don't know more of what is available for us to do because we're younger, we don't know more. um, there might be some of us who might feel some sort of guilt or shame for not being able to like show up as much as we wish to, but it's not our fault. It's not your fault. It's just that we're young. And so perhaps as we grow older and we know more, perhaps we can show up more for our grief as well as the people around us. But that's also not to say that you have to make up for anything. You didn't do anything wrong. And it's just a matter of life. We truly do this together. You're right, Greg. Like we really need to grieve together.
So, young one here,
Yes.
add on with what you said. We do like kind of lean on the older sibling and look to them for help, but then we also offer that help and support for them, just like Julia had Bella.
Yeah. And I'm glad that you did that, Zeke. Because our older siblings, I think that I have so much respect for my older brother because they be going through a lot and they have a lot of different kinds of pressure on them. So everybody just needs support. Mental health takes a village, grief takes a village. We got to do it as a community, and life isn't meant to be done alone. So thank you all for reminding us of that, of the importance of community. With that said, quick announcement that we have our final question, and we will then move on to Q&A. So if you're watching and if you have any questions for us, we know that you have some questions for us with your registration form. But if you have any new questions now after hearing from our panelists, let our people know. Just start thinking about it. Let our people know. But at this time, our final question is going to be about Camp Erin. Everybody here, all of the panelists here, are Camp Erin alumni. And I think that they're all really excited to share about their experiences. So whoever would like to go first, share one specific activity at Camp Erin that was meaningful to you, or anything you want to share with a teen who may be on the fence about attending. Yeah, go ahead, Greg. You've been ready. Show them your stuff.
So there are two things I want to talk about Camp Erin. The activities we did, and then I just want to quickly talk about the people because they're actually like people your age that you get to talk to, and they like all have like the same thing. They've all like lost somebody, and you can all like you spend a weekend and then you guys get really close together.
Awesome.
Yeah, and then we also do little arts and crafts. So, like we made a drum.
You gonna play for us a little bit?
Yeah, so it's just like when we need something to like let our emotions out on, we could like use the drum to like let our emotions out.
Yeah. Could you show us the drum a little bit? Can you like lift it up and show us? And you decorated that, right?
Yeah, I used a lot of just tape and random stuff.
Yeah. And did you get to like talk to other people while you were making that decorating the drum?
Yeah, I actually had like my whole group. We my whole like where I go went to, we each like group of age group had like of like boys and girls. We all had like our own like names. Like my team name was called the Mavericks, and all we did was just play volleyball, sing the Top Gun soundtrack, and wear sunglasses. And we had code names, so it was pretty fun.
I'm so impressed that kids your age knew what Top Gun was and also know the soundtrack. That's so fascinating. And what was it like just to have an activity to do together and just talk to people who you know is also going through something similar you are?
Uh it felt pretty good because it wasn't just like just talking about your emotions. It was also like doing something with it. But then it wasn't just that, it was just like us talking. It didn't have to be just about grief. It could be anything.
Yeah. And it's so exciting to connect with people who you know is also grieving, but also talk about not just grief, but just life itself. Because at the end of the day, we still are humans who are growing and experiencing life. And there are different things and exciting things that we're experiencing that's other than grief, also. There is life outside of grief, also. Thank you for sharing that, Greg.
No problem.
My favorite activity was the one we did last year. We got to write on plates, and we got to write like good things, bad things, anything you really wanted to write on it, and then you get to smash it. And my group went first, and then my little sister Bethany, she got to go afterwards. And you pick out pieces of the plate and you put them in cement and make a stepping stone. And she got to pick out plates, and she picked out some of my plates, and she had some of her plate. So it was just really cool that we were connected, and not really, I don't believe in coincidences, but like it's just so cool that she didn't know whose plate it was. She just liked it, and she picked them out.
Yeah, that must have been a really connecting experience. And also for reassurance sake for the parents watching this, wanting to send your kids to Camp Erin when you hear that they're breaking plates. As you can see, Julia is safe. So
You
everyone was
smash
safe.
them out a wall. You don't
Yeah.
smash them on the ground. You smash them out a wall.
This was a safe activity.
Yes, it's very safe. You put glasses on and gloves on and everything.
I just thought I would share that in case any parents are watching. Okay, thank you for sharing that, Julia. And is that thesis that you were able to take to your dad?
Yes.
Amazing. That's so beautiful. Anyone else?
So, my favorite part with it, my bad.
You're
My
good.
favorite part was like the community that I was with, the group of people I was with. There were not really a whole lot of us there, but you get to make some great friends, great connections. And I actually still keep in touch with the group of people that I was there with.
And I think you mentioned before in our rehearsal that they were all your age, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. And how long ago was that again?
Close to 5-ish years.
5-ish years. And so you're still friends, you're still keeping in touch. And have you seen each other since?
Yes, ma'am. A couple times.
A couple times. That's amazing. I love that you were able to meet people who are your age. They're young boys who are also grieving, and you're able to just do life together. That's actually really exciting. That's actually really beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing. And what did you guys do at Camp Erin? Like, do you have a favorite memory?
Not really. Just kind of us being kids.
Just kind of good. And that's okay too. That it doesn't have to be an activity, but memories truly are the lasting impact. And look what happened. You still are friends to
Oh,
this
yeah.
Yeah.
5 years later. So that's awesome.
For me, it was probably. Oh,
Oh my gosh, no, you're okay. Sorry. I was just gonna say similar to what you were saying, that some of my like favorite moments from Camp Erin were like some of those like more like unofficial like bonding experiences that weren't necessarily like built in through the day. So like I remember going like 4-leaf clover hunting with my big buddy and like some of the other like kids who were at my Camp Erin group, and so I thought that was really nice. And it was just kind of like a way to like have a little bit of luck during like a difficult time of our like during a difficult time of our life, and just like having like those memories, just being there with like all the other people and like bonding over, this experience, and knowing that like, oh, we're like all here for each other, even though we just met.
Hmm. And for those who are watching who don't know what a big buddy is, what is a big buddy?
A big buddy is usually like someone, or it can be a group of people, depending on how your camp is run, that kind of like that you're with like all weekend. And so they're, over the age of 18, they've lost someone, close to them. And they're just kind of like taking you through the weekend, just making sure that like, you're feeling supported every step of the way.
Mm. And with your big buddy, what is it? Does it feel like having an older sister? What does it feel like?
Yeah, it definitely felt like having an older sister, being able to like, bond with them over these things. I know my big buddies were like, I guess like on the younger side. And so it was definitely like, yeah, it was definitely like having an older sister being like, oh my gosh, like I said, 4-leaf clover hunting, or like doing the arts and crafts activities, and then just doing like other things, or just like talking to them about like, I was like 7 or 8 at that time. So it would have been like, talking probably about like my favorite TV shows or like what books I'm reading. So
And you're probably, so if you were 7 and they were older, then you were probably at that age now where you could be a big buddy too.
Yeah, I am. I've actually volunteered at one of my local Camp Erins for the last couple of years. That's also been like a nice experience, being able to like, be in the shoes that like, these people were 10 years ago when they were supporting me.
Wow, so Camp Erin has been in your life for a long time.
Yeah, it has.
Yeah. So with all of your experiences and your activities, and clearly you still maintain your friendships, or you go back to fill the shoes of somebody else that you have met before, or you still have your favorite drum that you created there. What would you say to somebody who might be watching right now, who perhaps your age right now, or perhaps back the age that you were when you attended Camp Erin? What would you say to be like, hey, if you're on the fence, check out Camp Erin? You don't have to, but here's why you could.
Well, it's definitely just a really amazing experience. Like the luminary ceremony and all the arts and crafts activities, all of it is just an amazing experience. Like you get to connect with people who are your age and have lost someone like you have lost someone. With my Camp Erin group, we were all about the same age and all lost a parent. So it's not always like that, but you definitely get really close with these people because you're with them for so long and sharing so many things, and they're your age, and it's just a truly amazing experience.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I would agree. Just like, even if you get like nothing else out of the experience, you at least get to like meet other people who are going through similar things like you. And that can be really empowering at times, just to know that like even in your like dark, like hardest days, you're never like, you're not truly alone. I feel like Camp Erin does a good job of showing you that.
That's great. Anyone else?
I would have to say that if you want like people like your age to talk to about it, and like just want to go to a camp for a weekend, just like maybe just like take a break from your family and just like grieve like on your own with like a new group of people, and like see what they go through, and then maybe learn a few new ways to cope, then Camp Erin's kind of like that place.
Wow, I love that you said that. That's actually a really amazing point, because let's be honest, we do be needing a break from our family sometimes. And it's like you're just circulating and circling around and echo chambering in the same area of space, same space of grief. And yeah, it's refreshing, and a little bit perhaps even more energizing to experience new level of support from people who get it. Zeke, did you have anything to share?
So if you're looking for a reason to get away from your family, I would recommend doing so through Camp Erin because it's a safe space. You're gonna have fun and you're somewhat gonna forget part of the like sad reason that you're there, but it's also a great place to remember the person that you lost. So it's not all sadness, it's everything combined.
Yeah. So you're still able to remember together and honor them together. That's amazing. I think something that is perhaps a stigma about grief and people who are grieving is that it's uncomfortable to talk about their loved ones who has passed on when it turns out that we actually sometimes really do want to talk about them and remember them together and share a favorite memory, or perhaps they had a really quirky little funny habit that they used to do. We want to actually talk about these things because that's the way that we can remember them. So thank you all so much for sharing your experiences, your advice, your tips. Um, and at this time, we're gonna move to Q&A. So you can continue to viewers, you can continue to submit your questions in the comment section, but Sarah is letting me know of some of the questions that are coming already. So you can add your questions to the chat, but just to get us started, with about 10 minutes left, we will get started with the first question to get us going. And before we end the entire call, you also see the QR code at the corner of this screen. If you can take a shot of that QR code, it will lead you to a survey to just understand your experience, if Eluna Network can provide you with any resources and answer your other questions and things like that. So while we do the Q&A, you can also be doing the survey as well. So I keep seeing this question from our rehearsal and also now, and also the email. So I'm just going to ask it because somebody has this burning question. Whoever wants to answer, does music play a part in your grieving process? If so, how?
Sorry, you can go, Greg.
Oh no, you can go. I kind of cut you off, like there, like originally.
Oh no, it's fine. I was just gonna say, yeah, music definitely played a part, in my grieving journey. It was actually like through Mother's Day. I was scrolling through my dad's Facebook, just trying to see like fun like memories of me and my mom and like my brothers, and I came across like one post from probably like 2019 or something, and he was just talking about how like he played like these different like songs in the car that like didn't like they kind of applied to grief and kind of just like and like they kind of have a bunch of different meanings to them, but it was just kind of like how we were like we could apply them to grief, and that we kind of like just listen to them, just like know that like we weren't alone. And so like some of them, like one of them was Walk by Foo Fighters, and it was just kind of like you can keep on going and all that stuff. Oh, the post was actually recent because it was when we saw Everclear like the day of like my mom's birthday, and Everclear was a band that I had listened to a lot like after my brothers passed away. And so there was this one song about like the lead singer who was going through a divorce, and like while I was not going through a divorce, I did resonate with some of the other themes in the song. So that song was also I can't remember what it's called at the moment, but like some of those songs are just really helpful. But yeah, music does play a big role in like my grieving process. I always listen to music whenever I just like need to get out of my head.
I'm so impressed by these music choices y'all got going on, because what do you mean you know who the Foo Fighters is?
I went to the Foo Fighters concert.
Wow. That you just out here impressing me, Greg.
Thank you.
Did you have an answer for yourself as well, Greg?
Yeah, I do. Like music for me, it just like lets me like it deregulates me. It just allows me to like listen to something without like having to like just yell. It just like lets me think and just sit down, think. And it's okay if I play one real quick right now. It's a real quick one. Like for example, this is some of the mute. Whenever I need something to listen to and something to make me smile, I usually just think to music. And like for example,
Wait, when you say it's quick, how quick is it?
according to this, it's 20 seconds. Hang on.
All right, we can do 20 seconds.
Hang on, it's an ad. It's an ad. What? It's
I don't
fast.
know.
That's really what I like to listen to.
Oh, we can't hear it. Are you playing it?
I was trying to, but anyway, I just like music that just tries to make me laugh. But anyway, what I was just trying to play was just Bill Nye the Science Guy and all that stuff. Just like
Oh,
songs that try to make that songs that make you smile, all that stuff. Just try to remember the happy stuff. That my brother loved music, I love music. It just try to remember the happy stuff.
I'm so happy that you know who Bill Nye the Science Guy is.
Raise your
I'm so
hand if you know who Bill Nye the Science Guy is.
That's awesome. I'm so glad that his legacy lives on because he's awesome. Absolutely.
I used to listen to him in school.
That-
Even as a junior in high school, we used to listen to him.
That's great.
If
You
you
know
walked
what?
into my middle school classroom and we were playing Bill Nye the Science Guy, you would hear the entire class saying, Bill, 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 Nye the Science Guy. But anyway, so back to
Classic.
everybody else.
Classic. And also Magic School Bus. All right. Let's move on to the second question. I think this is coming from a mother or father, not sure. Okay. The question is, what can I do to help open discussion for daughter to talk about her big brother who she saw pass away in front of her from cancer? So basically, what can I do to get my daughter to open up? From a parent standpoint.
Want to know because I'm not a parent, but I'm thinking.
Don't force anything.
Definitely just like you have to give that space and like you don't want to force it like he said, but you want to be able to give that compassion and show that you are there to listen, but don't always like force it to have them talk. But if they do want to talk, listen.
If you aren't to not force them, like your advice is to not force it. But what if the daughter is not opening up about it themselves? So there's nothing happening, like no conversation going on, then how do you think the parent can perhaps open up the conversation just as like a nudge, like, hey, I am here, or hey, I'm just checking in? How do you think they can approach that?
Just sit down and listen. Just like don't say anything. Just like wait for. Just like say, hey, you got 5 minutes. Just tell me what's on your mind. I'm not going to say anything. Something like that. Just sit and listen to how they're feeling right now.
It doesn't always have to start with grief. Like start like a normal conversation, and then if they are leading or if they are opening up, then lead into that question about how to support them or how they are feeling.
Yes, that's really great advice, Julia. Not forcing it, being there to listen, letting them know that, reassuring them, continuing to remind them that you're there to listen. But also, the conversation doesn't always have to be grief, especially when it's fresh or hard to talk about, or the daughter might not be familiar with vulnerability yet. But what I also really love about what Julia said is that the part where it's about it doesn't have to be grief. I mean, as an interpersonal dynamics facilitator, there's this practice in communication skills called putting in the reps. So even though you don't talk about grief, if you put in the reps and the practice of having conversations with your daughter, one day they might open up because they become so used to talking to you. They have the reps in talking to you. They understand that this is a safe space now. They can trust the space. One day, you never know if you might be sitting in a car and all of a sudden they start talking. So you just have to put in the reps, continue to remind them that you're there for them. Thank you, guys. That was amazing. That was a great advice. We have 2 minutes, so I'm going to ask the last question. What do you want us professionals to know about how we can create a peer support group that speaks to your needs? In other words, what 3 components are most important in what a bi-weekly group would look like? Okay, to sum it up, what do you think would be the most helpful for you in a peer support group? It might be what you already said about Camp Erin.
So coming from something similar to that, having people that have gone through a similar situation and having them lead the conversation so much more than you sitting down and trying to lead everything, like give it some, like get some icebreakers and stuff going, and then have the kids or whoever you're with lead the conversation from there. And you'll be surprised how much people will actually open up when it's coming from them, their experiences, to other people their age.
I love that, because I think as adults, we also have this big pressure that we have to know how to do everything and have answers for everything. But what you're saying is that no, there's actually room for let us lead the conversation because it's our space. And that's why that's why peer youth led spaces are so empowering, because y'all know what y'all need. We're just there to hold the space for you and the platform for you.
Uh, I'm in psychology right now, and I was learning about therapy, and part of it was like, well, you don't always have to open up, and you don't always have to talk to that person, and like you don't have to open up to them. You can have them accept that you don't have to open up to them, and just like there are other people to open up to, and it doesn't have to be a counselor. It can be other people.
It's like planting the seed to know that they can open up, but in a trusted space.
Yes.
It doesn't have to be just any space. Anyone else?
I think one thing that can also be helpful is to have like different like medians to like make sure that like everyone feels like comfortable. So like, we're talking about a lot like, oh yeah, just like lead the let the kids like lead the conversation. And I feel like that is really good, but I think also like sometimes people aren't necessarily going to be comfortable in like a talking situation. So I feel like if it's like they said it was a bi-weekly thing, so it's like, okay, like some sessions it can be like, oh, we're gonna like do a lot more talking, but then in other sessions it's like, okay, we're gonna like focus a little bit more on like the artistic stuff, and then like less talking, or like I know sometimes like I don't know what I'm supposed to say, but then just being able to like write and like just like dump all my thoughts onto like a piece of paper is really helpful. So just being able to like have those ideas in place to make sure that like everyone's gonna feel welcome, because it's like, okay, yeah, sometimes it is helpful to like have a couple sessions and then like talk it out, but then sometimes it's like I just don't know how to put what I'm feeling into words, so it's easier to like draw it out or write it out or do like something in that realm.
Yeah, I love that, because it goes to show accessibility, that the group grief supports the group can be accessible to different needs, and that looks like prompts to answer questions and help with reflecting, and reflecting can be verbal or journaling, or perhaps it's just an activity where you can maybe even color together, but you can just yap and talk to each other and just naturally have those conversations. So variety of activities to adhere to accessibility. That's a really great advice. We're getting ready to wrap up. Greg, did you have something to share?
No, I don't. I just had all Camp Erin really covers it with like having a support group, and I don't really know like what else to have in a support group, because I've been to Camp Erin, I've been to Judy's house in Colorado, which is a place for certain kids to talk about their grief and like end their experience. But really, I don't really have anything to talk about.
Okay. Well, amazing. This has been an incredible panel. I'm so thankful for all of you for sharing your experiences, your vulnerability. At this time, I will send it over to Sarah to close us out.
All right. Thank you so much, Jiggy, and our amazing panelists here in Camp Erin alumni for opening up and being so just strong in your vulnerability and guiding us all through this conversation. I know there's a lot of open hearts and a lot of support and encouragement in the chat today from our viewers. So thank you for paving that way. I think for a lot of young people watching this, but also a lot of the adults that are just hoping to find better ways to support teens in their circles of care. So thank you all, panelists, and Jiggy, phenomenal as always. So appreciate you, absolutely amazing. I also just want to acknowledge some hard work behind the scenes. Ileana, Emily, who's here today, also behind the scenes, EJ, Steph, Darby, Allison, and Mary on our Eluna team. They were all doing a lot of things to help make this wonderful night happen, in addition to our amazing supporters and sponsors from Aetna and Independence Blue Cross. So thank you, everyone, for making it happen. If you do want to learn more about Eluna, please visit our website and about our Camp Erin programs. You'll see our link is going to be in the chat here soon. So come visit us, check it out, reach out, and we can definitely support you all there. So with that, I'm going to close up the live stream and say goodbye to all of our amazing YouTube viewers. Thank you, all viewers, and we will hope to see you soon at one of our camps. Thank you.
Bye. Bye.
Bye, y'all.
Bye.